In 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever episode of the Horror Movie Podcast. I will be co-host number 1 for this podcast, and my name is Anna.
And I'm co-host number 2, and my name is Luke. And we're going to talk about some horror movies. We're going to talk about old ones, new ones, good ones, bad ones, reviews, first impressions, all sorts of stuff. Today, we're going to talk about our favorite horror movies and why we like horror movies. Should be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few questions lined up for each of us to answer.
And we have a couple short reviews at the end. We both watched a horror movie in preparation. So I watched Malignant.
Oh.
And you watched?
I watched Midsommar.
So it'll be fun to talk about. I've never seen Malignant until now, but this is your fourth time watching Midsommar?
It's my third time, yeah.
Midsommar. Okay, Midsommar.
Mm-hmm.
Beef. First episode.
First episode, controversy.
It's Midsummer. Look, we live in America. We pronounce things wrong. So if it is Midsommar, Americans should pronounce it Midsummer.
Here's my whole thing with the correct pronunciation of the name is the title literally says Midsommar, but in the movie they do say a midsummer celebration, which is interesting to me.
Oh, you mean it's spelled A-R at the end?
Yeah, which is interesting to me because...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And if you look at the actual script of the movie, it's spelled summer, S-U-M-M-E-R, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, It's interesting to me.
I think maybe that's because no one would go see a movie called Midsummer.
When I first heard of this movie, I thought it was the Shakespeare play Midsummer Night's Dream.
Oh, I wonder if that's why they did it.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Bit of a weird decision.
Because Shakespeare's a little bit bigger than Ari Aster.
Right, yes, for sure.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, let's save our reviews for the end. Let's get into our questionnaire.
Yeah.
Starting with, why do you like horror movies?
Okay. The answer for this should be pretty short for me. I like to be scared. Why do you like horror movies?
This is a more complicated answer for me because, one, I'm really bad at answering questions like this. And two, I know why I like scary movies. I think it's so difficult to do well, but once you see a good horror movie, it's so impressive. Like, I'm trying to relate, for instance, steak. You can go get a fine steak at pretty much any steakhouse or whatever and $10-$12 for it, and it's fine. But when you have like a really nice, well done steak, it's like mind blowing, right? And I mean that's similar for food just in general. Like we like Taco Bell, but that's not gonna come close to real Mexican food if we were to go to Mexico. Okay, maybe Taco Bell would. And I feel like it's kind of the same for horror movies. Like, there's so much trash out there. There's so much just awful horror movies that once you find a good one, it's like that. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, when I was a kid, I would always we'd go to the video rental store because apparently I'm old enough to still know what a video rental store is, because culture moves slower in North Idaho. And I would I'm talking as early as 6, 7, 8 years old would go to the horror movie aisle and just look at the pictures. I wasn't allowed to watch any of the movies, but I was just so enticed by them, I was so interested. I wanted to. The one I specifically remember is the remake of The Hills Have Eyes, which is the hand on the girl's face. I don't know if you've seen that cover, but that cover was ingrained in my brain. And funny enough, I haven't even seen that movie after watching probably a couple hundred horror movies at this point. But yeah, and of course I like the suspense. I like the stories. I like horror movies, and that's why.
Yeah.
So our next question is going to be, what is the first scary movie you ever remember seeing?
This is a good question, and I honestly wish my answer was different. I didn't get into horror movies until I was like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
So the first one that I ever saw was in theaters with my dad and my friend at the time, and we went and saw It, which was the
That's a good one.
It is a good one. However, it's not. I feel like it's a good one to ease you into horror.
Definitely, because it's not very. I mean, it has its moments. It definitely,
Right.
especially the first time you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the more you watch that movie specifically, it becomes less scary. At least for
Yes.
me. But I think it's a great starting horror movie because it's a good movie. It's got a good story, and it still has the like scary scenes. Like,
Right.
what's the one with the kid? He's like in a room. Is it a room of like? It's like boxes.
Boxes.
I don't know if it was coffins or if it was something else. I don't know. The
Oh,
kid's
right.
like,
He's in a room with clowns, and there's a coffin in the room.
right. Yeah, that's a scary scene.
Right, yes.
All of the scenes in like the butcher shop are all really
Right,
good.
yes.
And I mean the movie just opens like brutally. You know,
Right,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
There
like,
it is.
This is what I'm in for. I'm in
Right.
for children getting their arms chopped
Right,
off. Like
yeah.
this is a tad scary. you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah.
I actually don't really know. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I was about the same age when I got into scary movies, like 13, 14. And I think it was The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
It was either The Exorcist. It might have been Nightmare on Elm Street. It was either Scream, The Exorcist, or Nightmare on Elm Street. And either, no matter which option, is great.
Classic,
like, that's a
yeah.
solid, like, great introduction to horror movies.
Yeah.
One that, a lot of people who grew up around the time I did and
Mhm.
when you did didn't really, those aren't going to be the first movies they watch because they're more
Right.
like considered classics at this point. I don't know. Scream's not a classic at this point,
Yes.
right? Like it's still a little new.
I think at this point, it's definitely starting to enter the territory of being a
How
classic.
much time has to pass for a movie to be considered a like because you have modern classics, right?
Right,
So
yes.
but like let's like Hereditary, for instance.
Right.
I would call Hereditary a modern classic,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
but how long before that it is just considered like a classic? How long before the kids start calling that movie a classic?
Right. I personally, I view it as 20 plus years, and I know that's not very long, but I feel like that's long enough for people to have, you're born, and at 20 is like, I mean, at least
Is
in
that
our
how
area.
life starts?
Yes.
You're born?
At 20, at least in our area, is when new people start being born.
Yeah, that's true.
At 20 years of age. So
Yeah, if you don't
that's
have
why
3 kids by the time you're 20,
right?
what are you even doing
Yes,
with your life?
exactly. So I view 20 years as being that
Sure.
window for something to become a
Yeah, and
classic.
Scream is just
Right,
past
just
20
entering
years.
that,
Like
yeah.
it's about 26, 27 years
26
old at
yeah,
this point.
yeah.
So, well, our next question: have you ever had to shut off a scary movie?
I am going to say yes for this.
What was it?
I am the type of person that if I am home alone, all lights are off, I'm laying in bed watching a movie, if anything remotely scary or like real life circumstances
Sure.
that could be like traumatizing happens in said movie, I have to turn it off and I cannot watch it.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I do like being scared,
Right.
but I don't.
But within the right.
Right, it has to
when
have-
you know you're safe.
Right, exactly. So
I mean, I think that's something about horror movies that people like, though, right?
Yes.
Is that they can choose when to be scared. Because,
Right.
I mean, being scared is very similar to adrenaline, right?
Yes.
So, like, adrenaline junkies, I mean, some of them do things to get adrenaline that are not safe at all.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, like, if you're skydiving or if you're a roller coaster enthusiast and you're finding the
Right.
highest roller coaster, like, you're going to be safe. Like, that's generally speaking, horror movie lovers are not going to like a bad part of town and just like walking around like flipping cash in their hands. Like that would be scary, but like no one wants to experience that.
Yes,
right? Like,
exactly.
so, I mean, I think watching horror movies is actually like kind of healthy in a way, and that you can experience that feeling or whatever without actually having to like put yourself in a dangerous situation, you know?
Yes.
So what movie was it?
I mean, I've shut off quote unquote scary movies ranging from Coraline, which is like a children's movie, to like, I mean, not The Exorcist, The Conjuring, you know, like like within that range, just pretty much granted, there are some times where I'm home alone and I'm like, I turn on a scary movie because that's what I want to watch.
Were you gonna say Christmas movie?
A Christmas movie.
You like stuttered for a second, and I thought you were gonna say Christmas movie.
We're entering the season.
Okay, but we're not there yet.
Violent Night is coming out.
I'm so excited for Violent Night. It looks so good. I mean, it doesn't. It looks pretty bad actually, but I'm so excited.
But I feel like it looks so bad that it is good. It's entered the range of being good because it's going to be humorous.
So this is a side tangent, but it's worth it. If you haven't seen the trailer for Violent Night, it's about so Santa Claus it's Christmas Eve. He's giving out gifts, and he shows up to a house that there's home intruders at, and Santa Claus like saves the family. And there's one scene where one of the intruders is like walking, and Santa Claus comes up behind him and like pulls out like ribbon or something and like snaps it even. And I'm like he's gonna strangle the dude. I don't know if you actually see it in the trailer, like see him attack the guy, but I try not to pay attention to trailers because I don't like watching them. So we saw that in theaters, and then once I've decided that I want to watch a movie from a trailer, I like try and stop paying attention. So I don't remember a lot of details. But yes, I'm so excited for that. I'm very excited for our Christmas horror movie list, which we will be doing. That will be coming like early December, probably maybe late November, on best Christmas horror movies to watch, and that will probably be an honorable mention because it won't be out at the time. But very much looking forward to Christmas horror.
Yes.
Would you believe it if I told you I've shut off a horror movie?
Really? Yes. Oh my goodness! This is news.
It was, and I can't even believe what movie it was, but it was Strangers Pray at Night, and I haven't finished this movie. And it's not like I haven't finished it because it's too scary, but I was house sitting and I was watching this movie, and it's literally about like this family's on vacation and a bunch of strangers. I mean, that's the whole premise of the movie, is that, and that's what makes the story like scary, is that these people just show up because they were home and then just attack them, you know. And it wasn't even like, the movie's not that scary. It's like it's like a slasher, and I don't know. I never really find slashers scary, and I wasn't like scared by the movie, but I was like, yeah, I'm not watching this movie while I'm house sitting. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
Home Alone.
Exactly. Like I don't know how to. I mean, it sounds like it's because it was a scary movie, and I mean, I was like, I guess yes, like that's what was happening, right? But it wasn't like I could watch Strangers Pray at Night. Here with headphones on, and like it's not a scary movie, but I think that's another thing about scary movies, is that sometimes things that are not that scary like actually seem kind of scary,
for sure, especially in the right area and circumstance.
Definitely.
You know, like because you were house sitting, you weren't at your own home, you don't know.
Well, and the house is like there's windows like wall to wall in the house too, and like that already makes me uncomfortable. Like just even in the daytime when I was in that house by myself, I'm like closing all the blinds and like locking the back door. It's like I don't want to be here.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know. So but yes, actually I have shut off a scary movie before.
Interesting.
Admitting stuff already. First episode.
Right, we're getting deep.
Yeah. Our next question: what is the worst scary movie you've ever seen?
Okay.
I gotta pull out Letterboxd for this.
Yeah, I was trying to think very hard about this because, I mean, I'm sure we've seen our fair share of bad horror movies.
Most definitely.
I know what comes to my mind when I hear this question.
I swear, if you say Scream 4,
it is very controversial, but I'm gonna have to say Scream 4.
No way!
I can't get behind it. I know there's the whole hype about you have to watch it more than one time. You have to. Otherwise you won't get it. And I mean, I've watched it once. I'm sure I'll watch it more than once. But upon my first viewing of it, I made a very clear decision in my mind that it was just bad. I
can't believe that.
I don't know what to tell you. It is, I think for me, it's not even bad where it's like funny. It is just, to me, it's just not a great movie. I mean, you know how I feel about it. I think the motive is a bit, it's like, it's a little not there for me. And motives, especially in slashers, are
such a purist when it comes to Scream, which is funny to me because we watched all 5. We watched one a day, 5 days in a row.
Yes.
Like it wasn't like you were like committed to the first Scream for so long.
Yeah.
But you don't even like Scream 5.
No, Scream 5 is also not my favorite. Fun fact, which
I can't believe you're saying Scream 4 is the worst horror movie you've ever seen.
That is my first initial thought. I might have to think about it for a minute longer, but right when you asked the question, in my mind, Scream 4, it was just there. Scream 4.
Not even Scream 3.
Scream 3 is a bad movie, but because it is so bad, it's funny. Scream 4 is just bad, in my opinion. It's not even like bad, like trying to be funny. It's just a bad, not very well done movie, in my opinion. Because I like I was saying, the motive is a big thing of what qualifies a movie, especially a slasher, for being a good movie for me.
Yeah. Can't believe it. So I'm a little torn here because I'm looking at horror movies that I've rated a 0.5 star in Letterboxd. Plug, by the way, follow us both on Letterboxd. Links to our Letterboxd will be in the description down below, where we will rate our movies and leave reviews, and we'll anytime we do a list on the podcast, we'll also have a list on Letterboxd to follow along. But I have 7 horror movies. Actually, all 7 movies that I've given a 0.5 star are all horror movies.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm a little torn here, but I think I'm going to have to go with Halloween Ends.
I still haven't seen it.
It's trash. It's so bad. Like it's not even like good bad or funny bad. It's just bad. Like it's new enough that I won't go into spoiler territory, but they just go so far out of left field. The only thing I will say about it, which is kind of a spoiler, but the movie sucks, so no one's going to care.
Spoiler warnings are implied.
Michael Myers is barely involved in the movie.
Actually?
Yeah. And it's such a bummer because it opens so well.
Oh.
So the movie, it's a cold open, and there's someone is babysitting.
Okay, yeah, well.
But it's a guy babysitter, which you never see. So that's
a manny.
That's a little. Excuse me?
A manny. Like nanny, but man.
Please don't say that. People don't say that.
I have heard that term on multiple accounts. I am not joking.
I don't like that. So it's a male babysitter, and he plays. The kid wants to play hide and seek, and
ooh, red flag.
Stuff goes wrong.
Yeah.
I won't go any further than that. But it is just so not what you expect, and it opened so well, and then it just crashed.
Oh, that's
burned.
A bummer.
It's just, yeah. So at the moment, due to recency bias, I'll say that one's the worst movie the worst scary movie I've ever seen, and possibly the worst movie I've ever seen. Now that I think about it.
Oh no.
What's your favorite horror movie franchise?
Okay, this is easy to answer. Scream.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the best.
It is the best. There's not really.
It's the best. It's my favorite. Yeah, I was trying to think of like another franchise, and it's like, okay, well, my favorite, like, no way. I mean,
right.
I will say the Conjuring franchise is up there for me.
Yeah.
I include the Annabelle movies in that,
Sure,
except for the fact that Annabelle is also trash. That's one of the other movies I have rated a half star. Just Annabelle.
Okay.
Annabelle Creation and Annabelle Comes Home are actually decent, but the first Annabelle movie is not good at all.
Oh. Okay.
And I think people get it confused because, so at the beginning of The Conjuring, it has the cold open with Annabelle.
Yes.
People think about that when you say Annabelle.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but that was The Conjuring. That wasn't Annabelle. Yes. And that is great. Like, that's really good. But Annabelle, it doesn't even have Etta Lorraine Warren in it.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
How does that even make sense?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than that, like, I love the Conjuring franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. Yes.
I love Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, I mean, it's Scream.
Right.
Like,
I feel like in most horror movie franchises, it's like there's bad seeds, obviously.
Sure.
But I feel like with Scream, even the bad movies, I would say, are better than like a bad
except
movie.
Scream 4, apparently.
Yeah,
Scream
that
4 is your least favorite horror movie.
We're
moving on because we're gonna fight if we keep talking about it. What's a movie that's not scary that scared you?
Okay. Why don't you answer first?
Because I don't have an answer. I've been thinking about this. Yeah, I've been trying to think about like what is a movie that scared me. Oh, you know what? So it's been so long since I've watched this movie, so I don't know if this qualifies as not a scary movie, but there's a movie called Flatliners.
Okay.
That, I mean, it's for sure a suspense thriller, but I don't think it's like scary. And I watched it when I was pretty young, and there was something about that movie that just I was not having. I mean, I watched the whole movie, but I think it's because I was sitting in front of my bedroom door. So like the living room, my bedroom door went into the living room.
Right.
And then directly in front of it was my chair.
Okay.
Was like a recliner.
Oh, sure.
I mean, and I was sitting there, and I think having an empty room behind me when I was a
Yes.
little kid, like
That's
just,
very eerie.
like messed with it a little bit, and it's a glass door too.
Oh, sure.
So like you can actually see into the room.
Jeez, yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't. I'll go with that one. We'll leave it there.
What, if I may ask, what is the genre of that movie?
A suspense thriller.
Okay,
I think.
yeah. So that's highly understandable.
Like it's not supposed to.
Right.
It's not the perfect answer, but I don't know.
But that's a good
some
answer.
people will be like, Teletubbies terrified me as a kid, and it's like, I mean, maybe now Teletubbies is scary to me,
jeez, have you seen that?
But as a kid, I love Teletubbies,
Man,
so, like,
something is wrong with you. Now I know why you are the way you are.
Answer the question.
Okay. I have to say, I do feel a little bit personally attacked by what you just said, because my answer is actually Walt Disney's Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, really?
I cannot watch that movie.
Wait, still?
Still, I can't watch it. I attempted to watch it.
What's scary about
within
it?
the last few months. I can't explain it. It makes me feel a sense of panic. Like I literally get anxiety from watching it. And I don't know why. I think this is I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but I am terrified of Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I don't know what it is. Ever since I was a kid, and that sort of like story that they tell about the oysters and
I actually haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't? Spoiler alert. Are you okay if I say this? There's a short story that Tweedledee and Tweedledum tell, and there's like oysters in it, and this walrus and this man are in it as well. And the man and the walrus are like going to have a clam dinner or an oyster dinner, and so they like cook the oysters and eat them. And I don't know what it is, but that terrified me as a kid, and so the whole movie is ruined for me. It creates such anxiety.
That's a good answer.
I know.
That's better than mine.
Yeah. Thank you.
what is a scary movie you are ashamed you have not seen?
Oh, well, actually, we were just talking about this. I have not seen The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Which is...
That's pretty high up there.
Yeah, for sure.
This is a good question. Because before October, when I watched 28 horror movies, I failed to watch 31 and 31, which was the goal. But before that, I would have said, I probably would have said Suspiria or like Night of the Living Dead. But
yes.
I've seen those now. Let's see. Oh, Evil Dead maybe. Evil Dead would be pretty. Oh, Psycho.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
how have you not seen
know.
Psycho?
I haven't seen either of them. I think they made. I think kind of turned into a franchise after they remade it. But I haven't seen the 1960s one or the remade one. It would be Psycho.
I think I'm going to have to find someone else to do this podcast with.
Have you seen Psycho?
Yes!
Oh, wow. Okay. Have you seen The Exorcist?
No.
That's what I thought. So what's a scary movie you're ashamed that you have seen?
I really need to think about this one.
So for me, it's the Wrong Turn franchise.
I don't even know what that is.
Every single one.
What is that?
So the premise of the movie, that's the word I'm looking for, is someone made a wrong turn. And then there's like these mutant humans. There's like, from what I remember, like no story in the first few, and then they try and make it a story in the later ones, and it's so bad. But like, what I assume is like kind of similar to Hills Have Eyes, like nuclear testing mutant and bred humans. Like someone makes a wrong turn, and then they kill everybody. But these movies are so bad. They're such like gore fests. Like they've got just overall gross content in them, but actually these were not HR appropriate movies, and I definitely watched them at work.
Oh my goodness.
So when I was working at in the chat department at the call center,
the chat department
at the call center, I would just find these links that I probably shouldn't have been clicking on to watch movies.
What?
Because I was so bored and it was so slow. So, apparently, somehow you can watch movies on Google Docs. Because that's what I was doing.
I think that's how you lose your job, by clicking on random links.
I never lost it.
Ever heard of viruses?
Nope. I mean, they have firewalls. So, I don't know. But anyways, I watched these all at work, and actually they made a new one. And the new one is actually pretty good.
Okay.
Like, I think I gave it 2.5 or 3 stars.
Okay, yeah.
Which all of the other ones, I haven't rated any of the other ones. All of the other ones are half-star movies. They're so bad. That would be the Wrong Turn franchise for sure.
Honestly, the only thing that is coming to my mind is, I don't even know the name of it. It was this weird indie horror movie that I found on Amazon Prime. It was like included with Prime.
Oh boy.
I was just looking for something scary to watch, and I almost did not finish it because I was like, wow, I will never get this time back.
That's the worst. Like when you're looking for just a movie to watch and you take a chance on something, like every now and then you like stumble on an amazing movie and you're like, how have I never heard of this?
Yes.
But most of the time it's just utter trash, and you're like, I should have just rewatched something.
I remember there were 18 reviews on it, and it had like 3.5 or 4 stars, which is not that bad.
It is for streaming services.
Yes.
Though. If a streaming service movie has 3 stars, stay away.
Run,
It's bad.
Right. So I will say it was about, I believe, these miners that enter, not children, but miners with pickaxes. that
I
entered.
wasn't even thinking like children. I was so that took me a second. Yeah.
I mean, you don't know.
Minors, the ones who carry, were they minors?
Oh goodness, I
Could
hope
any
not.
of them been a minor?
A minor.
Everyone is shutting the podcast
Yeah.
off at this point.
Stop making bad jokes.
Continue.
They were miners that entered a mining that entered a mining shaft that was previously abandoned.
Okay.
But they were like, maybe we shouldn't have abandoned this one.
Oh,
so they enter it, and there is this I can't even explain. It's almost like a Wendigo, but it is like definitely loosely based on that idea.
Okay.
But there's just a naked man in the abandoned mining shaft, and it's like he's scary, but he like follows them and that kind of thing. And it's like an hour and 20 minutes long, something like that. So it's like,
you don't remember what it's called?
I do not remember what it's called.
Bummer.
It would be kind of fun for us to watch it at some point.
I don't know about that. Moving on from terrible horror movies, what is a scary movie everyone has to see? It doesn't necessarily have to be like the best scary movie ever or anything like that. But what is, like, if someone told you that they're starting to watch scary movies, or someone said they like scary movies, and you said, "Have you seen blank?"
Right.
Like, what is that movie?
I am going to say Suspiria, 1977. Loser, beat you to it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's a must watch for
Absolutely.
everyone. It's an amazing movie. It's a beautiful movie, which you don't usually say about horror movies. But it's such a like pretty movie. There's like stained glass everywhere, and then the light hits the stained glass. So there's scenes that are just red or green or blue, and it's such a colorful movie too.
Right.
I'm so surprised it took me so long to watch that movie, and it's amazing. I'm totally with you. Everyone has to watch that movie. I will say Night of the Living Dead.
Okay. I have not seen that.
Other one. So it's not like the first zombie movie. I don't even necessarily think it's definitely not the first like rendition of zombies.
Okay.
But if I'm correct about this, and I'm probably not, but I believe Night of the Living Dead is the first movie, or at least the movie that made the modern zombie popular.
Okay.
Like the kind of dumb horde that, which actually the zombies in this are not so dumb. But I don't like it kind of made popular what we now have. What we now have for zombie movies.
Right.
Like if we didn't have Night of the Living Dead, I don't think so many movies would have been made. Like Zombieland, for instance.
Right, sure.
What's the other zombie movie that I was thinking of that I forgot? I don't remember. But no, I think Night of the Living Dead is a must watch. It's a black and white movie that was made late 60s, early 70s. Okay. So it didn't need to be black and white, but it was a low budget movie. So that's why it ended up being black and white.
Interesting.
But it's such a good movie. It's a really good movie. Yeah, I mean, like that, I'd put that on the list. We'll have to do a like top 10 must watch horror movies.
Yes, absolutely.
And Suspiria and Night of the Living Dead will most
right there at the top.
There.
Yeah.
And then the final question, how could it not be? What's your favorite scary movie?
My favorite scary movie is, and probably always will be, Scream.
Say it with me. Scream.
Scream, right?
I mean,
Scream.
Like,
Scream.
I'm right there with you. Yeah. I have it. It's at the top. I mean, it's also an amazing movie. Like it's a 5 out of 5 great movie for sure. But I'm not necessarily saying it's the best horror movie ever made, but it's my favorite horror movie. Yes. And every time I think like, well, maybe it's not my favorite horror movie, I rewatch it and I'm like, I love this. I love this movie.
Yes, exactly.
I love everything about it. I love all the characters. I mean, the main cast is all of them are amazing. Sydney, Tatum, Stu, Billy,
Gail,
Dewey, and Dewey.
Dewey,
that's who I was thinking of. Oh no, Randy. That's who. Randy.
I was
okay, I was like,
Randy.
why can't I think of Randy?
Right.
I mean, we have a whole shelf dedicated specifically to Scream. Everything else is kind of like mixed together, but here we have Scream, you know. So like, I mean, we have the knife. It's fake YouTube. It's not really fake. We have the VHS, the mask. Like second time this Halloween that I've gone as Ghostface. I mean, this Halloween I went as Ghostface, which is the second time. Yes. But yeah, I mean, it's my favorite, like hands down.
Yeah, there's, like you were saying, there's so much to like about it. I mean, the plot line, the characters, each of them are so different, but they blend so well together.
Yeah, they feel like a friend group, you know?
Yes.
Like they actually they feel like real people.
Yeah.
And I love that it's a parody on the genre, but it actually does take itself seriously though. It is actually a serious movie. I mean, eventually I'm sure we'll talk about Final Girls and who our favorite Final Girl is, and it's going to be Sydney.
Right,
like,
yeah.
I mean, like of course it
Hands
is.
down.
You know, she would probably survive any horror movie because she's had to survive 6 or 5 and probably soon to be 6.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know what they're going to do with Scream 6. But
I think I've heard that they're making a Scream 6.
No, they are.
They are?
It comes out in March.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Oh, but you're not sure if
I don't know if they'll
she's
have
going to
the
be...
original cast. I would assume that they would. But in Scream 5, they were very loosely in it. And honestly, I think it would be a good thing for the genre to kind of pass it on at this point.
For the franchise?
Yeah, franchise. Sorry, not genre. To pass it on to the new cast, because we still have some solid cast members from Scream 5 that didn't die.
Right.
But I'm sure Sydney and Gail will be involved.
Right, in some way.
Way.
They will be mentioned at least.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
not like they're going to just be forgotten.
Even if it's just like Sydney fled the country because she's done with this, and you know, like the new Sydney or whatever like calls her. I can't remember either of their names. Because I'm bad about that.
Yeah, no, I can't. The Jenna Ortega's character it starts with an A, I think, but I do not know.
That does it for our questions. Now let's talk about our movie reviews. So you watched Midsommar. I watched Malignant. Let's talk Midsommar first.
Okay.
Right, Midsommar.
Midsommar, if you're fancy like that. I mean, this like we said earlier, I've watched it 3 times.
What did you catch new? So okay, these. Let's talk. Let's do a spoiler-free review.
Okay.
And then we'll give a spoiler warning and go into that.
Yes.
So
good
just overall, third time watching, what do you think of Midsommar?
I mean, it definitely gets easier to watch the more you watch it because there is disturbing content in it.
Most definitely.
First time I watched it, I was like, okay, I need to go take a shower now. You know, it's one of those movies where you just feel a bit icky after watching it.
I watched it in a full theater.
Oh my goodness.
A full theater with my brother. It was Friday night.
No.
It was packed.
Oh my gosh.
And it is one of the most awkward moments of my life.
Yeah.
Just so many instances in that movie where it was just awkward laughter, which also kind of ruined the movie, you know, like because it's supposed to be disturbing, but it's not supposed to bring awkward laughter. I'm talking like roaring laughter in the theater because no one knew what to do.
Because you don't really have time to sit with it. So I feel like when people don't have time to sit with something, it become like it makes the movie just so bad.
I feel like there was also a lot of people who didn't know what they were getting into.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
like. I mean, I feel like that's probably not as popular as it used to be, just like showing up to the theater and picking a movie.
Right.
But I'm sure, you know, there are still some people who do it. But even if you just look at the poster, like it doesn't look.
Yeah, no, it
would not give off disturbing horror movie vibes.
Midsummer Night's Dream is what I even looked at the poster and thought, that looks a bit Shakespeare-ish because it's her wearing a flower crown, you know, kind of a thing. But for people that know things about horror movies and the horror genre, you know, they know that Ari Aster makes disturbing content.
Yes.
So I think once you know a bit about the director, then you are able to distinguish what the movie will be about or the feelings it might present in you.
Sure. What did you rate this movie?
I actually have not rated it on Letterboxd yet, but I have it written down right here on my paper.
Whoa, prepared.
4 stars. I was kind of going between 3.5 and 4. I could not draw half a star. So I just put 4 stars to be safe. You could have
drawn it and like not filled in half.
That's true. That's a good idea. I should have done that. But I mean, I was really back and forth between 3.5 and 4 because there are, I mean, it's not a perfect movie, you know, and it's.
I rated it 3.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once, and it was just, and like I said, the theater might have ruined a little bit of it.
Sure, yeah.
So maybe it deserves 4. It's by no means 5. Like,
right.
It's definitely not Hereditary. Hereditary kind of makes you feel that way too, like the gross, like,
right,
I need a shower kind of feeling. But it's not for one, it's not that bad with Hereditary, but for 2, Hereditary is a great movie.
Yes, for sure.
It's one of the best horror movies probably ever made, and it's for sure in the conversation to be the best of the 2000s.
Oh yeah, for sure. I will say, after watching Midsommar another time through, I was like it used to be probably 3 stars for me, but after watching it this last time, I raised it up to 4 stars.
Really? So you liked it a little more on the third watch?
Yeah, absolutely. There were things that I noticed that I somehow didn't notice the first 2 times I watched it, even though they're right in your face.
This is your official spoiler warning for Midsommar. We are now going to get into the spoiler portion of the review. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the things that you caught this time around?
So I am sure there are people, in fact, the majority of people notice these things. I didn't the first 2 times I watched it, which is very interesting because, like I said, they are right there. Like,
I mean, that's definitely something about Ari Aster.
Yeah.
Like, he for sure does that. So, I mean, I'm not surprised you're noticing things.
For sure.
Anything specifically?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is, during certain parts of the movie, specifically at the end, not at the end, it's sort of 2 hours, an hour and 45 minutes into the movie, when Danny takes the spring water and dandelion like concoction, whatever it is. Obviously it's hallucinogenics,
right?
But when she takes that, throughout the whole scene, whenever it's sort of, I know it doesn't really go from a character's perspective, but when it's focused a little more on Danny's perspective than anyone else's, the mountains in the background are like moving very subtly, which I think is fabulous because it, like, even without even recognizing it, your subconscious recognizes it. And so you feel, and I remember the first 2 times I watched that scene, I was like, why am I kind of feeling a little weird? They're just dancing. And it makes so much sense now having that knowledge.
Definitely.
And then another thing I noticed was when they put the flower crown on her that kind of looks like a basket, there's a flower that is like mimicking her heartbeat or her breathing or something. I think it's heartbeat. Obviously, if someone's watching and I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm pretty sure it's her heartbeat.
Sure.
Because, and it's like, it's kind of doing this steady like woo woo, but then when she hugs, I don't know how to say it, Pele, is that how you say his name?
I have no idea.
When she hugs the friend that is from the commune, it starts going faster. So it's like, it could be breathing, could be heartbeat, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think I caught that either. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, this movie didn't feel like, it just wasn't for me.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
I will probably not watch this movie again. Like, I'm not into just like gross movies,
right?
You know? Like,
yeah.
And I like, it's not scary either. Like, none
That's
of this.
True.
Never at any point in this movie did I go like, oh, like, geez, like, that was scary, you know? Or, I mean, with the exception of when the sister kills the family.
Sure.
When that happened, I was like, oh, this movie's gonna be good, you know? And then from there, it just kind of like went downhill.
Right.
I don't know. I appreciate the art. Like, I appreciate the visual aspect of it. There's like paintings early on in the movie that tell the entire story of the movie, which I love, little like Easter eggs and stuff like that. Like, that's really cool. But yeah, overall, it's like, it's just not for me.
Sure,
you know,
yeah.
like, but yeah, I mean, that's Midsummer.
Right. I mean, like you said, there's paintings throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I realized there's a painting in Danny's apartment where, with the bear.
Yep.
That
That's
like
the one specifically.
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like,
and I
what?
love stuff like that. So I can
Right.
appreciate the art. I can appreciate the, like
Sure.
Ari Aster, the cast.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Everyone involved did a really good job.
Right.
It's just not. It's
No,
not my
for
cup
sure.
of
It's
tea.
definitely not a scary movie.
Yeah.
It is very disturbing to watch.
That it almost needs to be its own category.
Right,
Like,
yeah, like instead of horror,
Disturbing.
it's like
Yeah.
disturbing.
Like-
For sure. Like, it's definitely, and like I said earlier, Ari Aster makes disturbing movies.
Right, but Hereditary is a horror movie.
Oh, yeah,
like through
for
and
sure.
through.
But that's another one, it's very disturbing
It is,
to
yeah,
watch.
it's very disturbing.
But yeah, it's definitely scary more than not.
Well, I watched *Malignant*, so I'll
Mm-hmm.
give a. Well, you haven't seen it, so everything will be spoiler free.
Right.
So no worries about spoilers. But I'm surprised it took me this long to watch it because it's directed by James Wan, who is one of my favorite horror directors.
Mm-hmm.
He directed The Conjuring. He directed *Insidious*. He directed the first Saw movie. He directed *Lights Out*. I'm pretty
okay.
sure he did *Conjuring 2*. And pretty much everything that he's directed, I've loved. And so when I heard he was doing *Malignant*, I was really excited for it, and then I just it got put on the back burner. I
Sure.
never got to it, and it was good, and it was definitely a James Wan movie. I mean, talking about
yeah.
like the whole build suspense,
And then-
no jump
yeah.
scare, and then jump scare out of nowhere that
Right.
shouldn't be there kind of thing. Very visually appealing. Like there's one scene where the main character is walking through her house and the camera is above her the entire way.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like above the walls even. So like it almost
Oh.
reminded me a little bit of Ari Aster
Sure,
in
yeah.
Hereditary.
Definitely.
But so it's a very visually appealing movie. The story is just a little lackluster. And
Okay.
the antagonist, that's the best way to put it, is not that I don't know,
Antagony?
it's just it's it's a little cheesy.
Oh,
Like
no.
it looks cheesy.
Okay.
So it's kind of difficult for me to take it seriously.
Sure.
I don't know. There's some twists and turns, and I don't want to say more than that for the sake of spoilers, but that I feel like just made the movie a little bit worse. I mean, overall, it's worth watching. I believe I gave it 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So I'm it's a good movie. It is. But it's by no means amazing. And overall, I was a bit disappointed from James Wan's direction.
Sure.
But-
Okay. Interesting. That's interesting because I feel like I haven't ever watched a movie by James Wan that was like,
Yeah.
ooh.
Yeah, all of his stories are actually really solid.
very-
and
yeah.
I mean, so he's a director. I know he has writing credits on a lot of the stuff that he directs, but
Okay.
I don't know how involved he is
Oh, okay.
in writing. I don't know if he writes most of the script and directs or if it's more like he's changing things as a director, which gives him a writing credit kind of
Sure.
thing. I'm not
Okay,
not
yeah.
sure how involved he is on that. But Insidious, The Conjuring, even Lights Out had a good story.
Right,
And
yeah.
Lights Out is a movie that's it sounds like such a dumb premise.
Yes.
You're like, I went into that movie bad horror movie.
Right,
I'm excited
yeah.
to watch this. And I was just so impressed. The
Okay.
story was interesting. It was the bad guy was interesting. It will make you afraid of the dark if you're
For
not.
sure. Yes.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was a bit disappointed. But it's still worthwhile. If James Wan's name was not attached to this movie,
Yeah.
I would have not been disappointed. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
For sure.
Because it's not a bad movie, but it's one of his worst.
Right.
So,
Sure. And that's always a huge letdown when it's a director that you like, and all of a sudden you go see a
Most
movie, and it's
definitely.
like, wait a second, where did your talent go? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, no offense to
I
him,
don't know if I'd
but
go that strong, but yeah. What have you watched any other horror related things recently?
I don't.
What's the new Netflix show?
Oh, actually, that's true. I started watching, I believe it's called The Midnight's Club.
Midnight Club.
Midnight
Yes,
Club,
that's what
okay.
it's about.
And it's on Netflix, and it is written by some of the people that did Hill House.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah,
it's what is his name?
I can't remember. It's
you talk. I'll look
okay.
it up.
It is, like we were saying, written by the man that did like Hill House and Bly Manor and those kinds of things, also on Netflix. And the first episode,
Mike Flanagan.
There we go. I was very surprised by the first episode. It was not at all what I expected it to be, which
In what way?
It's not bad by any means. I think for me to determine if a first episode is bad, I always need to see like the second episode.
Yeah, definitely.
But it just is. I can't really go into too much detail without spoilers.
Yeah.
But
I mean, so I've watched. I think I fell asleep like late first episode.
Okay.
But it's about like not a halfway house, but it's like
shoot, yeah.
it's like a boarding school.
It's a boarding house. It's a boarding
like
house.
a boarding house
Yeah.
for terminally ill children.
Yes.
So the main girl, right?
Yes.
Like finds out about this place and convinces her dad to let her go, and something about this place is off. Like,
right.
I didn't get to finish the first episode, but that's evident. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
Something is for sure going on at this place. Like, something is wrong. I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
I liked what I saw, but I mean, I kind of understand what you're saying. Like, it's not really what I was expecting.
Right.
Either.
Yeah.
And
the trailer doesn't, which you don't watch trailers, but for those of you that do, the trailer does not at all allude to what it's going to be about, in my opinion, especially after watching the first episode. It was a bit, because the trailer is just kind of them, they're almost like giving, like it's like when you get a book and you read the back cover description of the book, and it's kind of vague. What's a book?
Yeah, I know.
You know, and it's and then you read the book and you're like, why did the back cover description say that?
Totally.
You know, it's kind of like that. But it is good so far. I will say I am definitely excited to continue watching it, especily knowing Mike Flanagan.
Definitely.
It was a part of it.
Well, I mean, we'll do a whole review on it once
Yeah.
we both finish it. I haven't really watched much recently. Not horror related at least. I mean, I saw Wakanda Forever, Black Panther 2, which was
it
phenomenal.
good? Okay.
Yeah, 5 out of 5.
Oh,
Like
good.
it's
Yeah.
one of the best Marvel movies ever made. It was really good. They pay such a great tribute to Chadwick.
Oh, good.
So you know how like every Marvel movie cuts to the Marvel logo and it like goes through all the characters. So there's no music. It's just like a moment of silence for Chadwick basically, and it's just like going through like different pictures of him. I know it's like so tear jerking in the movie. You're like, oh man, like starting off like that. But no, they do such a good job. It's a phenomenal movie. Like definitely worth seeing for all the MCU fans out there. I mean, even if you're not an MCU fan, it's still a great movie, and it's one of the MCU movies that you don't need everything else to understand it. I mean,
so you should
watch Black Panther 1.
Right. Okay.
But
my next
honestly,
question.
if you had only seen Black Panther 1 and 2, like you'd be fine.
Okay,
They do a good enough job explaining what's going on to where you wouldn't need to see everything else. But we're going to watch Smile tonight.
Yes.
And Pay for the Devil later this week.
Didn't you see Smile recently?
I've seen Smile. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, I saw Smile and Barbarian in the past like couple months, I think.
Oh, okay.
But we need to watch Barbarian too.
Okay.
We need to watch that.
I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that.
It's a new horror movie this year. So we'll have a few things to talk about next time.
Yeah.
So thanks everyone for joining.
Yes.
Thanks so much for subscribing. If you want to disagree with Anna talking about Scream 4, please do it in the comments. If you want to disagree with me, save your comment. If you want to answer our questions from the list, do that.
Yes.
That would be fun to do. We'd go over that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the next podcast episode. If you have a question or if there's a movie that we just blatantly missed in the list that we should have talked about, drop it below. Let us know. We will be somewhere on YouTube for sure.
Yes.
Probably Spotify and maybe a few other places. But for now, wherever you're watching us, that's where we are. And that's it.
Catch
That's
you
an
later.
outro.
Slay.